Greetings, dear subscribers and casual listeners of my channel. Today, I want to share with you some oddities and inconsistencies in the Harry Potter books. Many fans still argue about which moments J.K. Rowling planned from the very beginning and which were added later. Let's take a look together at such interesting details that might not be so obvious at first glance. Number 1, the questionable secret. How is it that wizards were unable to find the Chamber of Secrets for 1,000 years despite the presence of ghosts who can walk through walls? After all, the giant serpent skin and the statue of Slytherin beneath the castle couldn't have gone unnoticed. Of course, not all ghosts were ready to help the living, but nearly headless Nick could have easily helped in the search. He himself is a ghost and likely knew about the existence of the chamber. On the other hand, Professor Binns, who claimed the chamber didn't exist, probably wouldn't have helped in the search, but as a ghost, he could have easily verified its existence if only he wanted to. Quote, "Mark this well, there is no chamber. There is not the slightest evidence that Slytherin ever set up a secret cupboard in the castle." Number 2, the exceptional portal. In The Goblet of Fire, we encounter portals that are supposed to move wizards at a specific time. However, the Triwizard Cup works completely differently. Instead of activating at a set time, it activates immediately upon touch. Quote, "All you have to do is touch the portal with just one finger." Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Unlike other portals, this one works instantly, which raises questions. Why weren't such portals used more often? Perhaps they were created specifically for the tournament, and later they decided to return to standard, less risky options. Number 3. The Forgotten Servant. Why didn't Sirius Black ask his loyal house elf, Creature, for help, who could have instantly delivered Peter Pettigrew straight into his hands? That would have been much easier than searching for him himself. Perhaps Rowling hadn't thought of Creature at the time, or maybe she decided that using the elf would be too boring. Also, if Sirius had summoned the elf, Creature could not have disobeyed him, making it an excellent way to complete the task. But it seems the author left this moment unexplained. Number 4, we can heal you too, nearly headless. Nick, who became a victim of the basilisk, turned to stone, but as a ghost, he couldn't die again. The question is, how was the mandrake potion administered to him to heal him if he didn't have a physical body? This is a mystery that the books don't provide a direct answer to, but the process of healing a spirit is quite intriguing. Number 5, the greatest achievement. The Philosopher's Stone, which can grant immortality, became an important element in the story. But why, knowing its incredible properties, didn't Nicolas Flamel use the stone for the good of humanity? Why didn't he start selling the elixir of life? There is no answer to these questions, which makes the whole situation somewhat questionable. Quote, "Why didn't he start selling the elixir of life?" For centuries, Flamel could have become the target of countless requests and attempts to steal the stone, and this aspect of his life seems rather unconvincing. Number 6. Coincidence? I don't think so. Severus Snape is one of the most enigmatic characters in the Harry Potter series. He constantly teeters on the edge of good and evil, his true loyalties shrouded in mystery. But one of the strangest aspects of his character is how someone as powerful as Snape could remain unaware of who Voldemort truly was, despite the Dark Lord's influence spreading far and wide. Even when Snape was among those who sought to destroy Voldemort, he continued to work for him without fully understanding the depth of his evil intentions. "I don't think I could ever understand what went on in his head," Snape confesses in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. "But one thing I know for sure, it would probably have been easier for me to be a killer than a friend to someone like him." This line raises the question, why did Snape, a man of such immense power, remain so distant from the truth about Voldemort? Was he playing a double game, or did his complex emotions prevent him from seeing the bigger picture? For a wizard like Snape, who could navigate the shadows with ease, it seems odd that he would ever be uncertain about such a crucial figure. Number 7. Special abilities with bloody consequences. In the world of Harry Potter, certain characters possess the unique ability to perceive the unseen, like Harry's ability to sense danger or feel a looming presence, even though he's not a seer. His intuitive understanding of magical events is something that sets him apart from others. "I think I need to follow my instincts," Harry says in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. "I always feel something's wrong when something important is about to happen." This heightened awareness, which allows him to detect things before they occur, is a power that few others seem to share. Even Dumbledore, a brilliant and powerful wizard, doesn't appear to have such direct intuition. But why are these abilities so rare? It's as if magic itself is selective, allowing only a handful of individuals to access this type of perception. While wizards like Harry and Professor Trelawney can sometimes see the future or sense impending doom, the majority of wizards do not share this ability. What is the purpose behind this magical exclusivity? Is it a hidden law of the magical world, one that keeps such powers in the hands of the few? The magical community, rich in its wonders, also hides certain truths from even its most gifted members. The ability to foresee or feel magic is something of a curse and a gift, but why only a select few are chosen to wield it remains one of the wizarding world's greatest mysteries. Number 8. Beyond the school. Hogwarts often feels like the heart of the magical world, but the series rarely gives us a full picture of the magical community beyond the school's walls. Outside of a few brief mentions, such as the Quidditch World Cup in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, we don't learn much about what life is like for wizards elsewhere. The magical world seems incredibly vast, yet it's oddly contained within the school, leaving readers to wonder what lies beyond its boundaries. The Quidditch World Cup isn't the sort of place where we all sit together like old friends, whispered Ron. A line from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire gives us a glimpse into a much larger magical society, one that isn't always seen through the lens of Hogwarts. The World Cup is a massive event drawing wizards from all over the world, but it still feels distant from the everyday life of the school. The magical world is hinted at in passing, but rarely explored in depth. Why is so little attention given to this broader magical community? Could it be that outside of Hogwarts there are no other significant bonds or events that shape the wizarding world in the same way, or perhaps, as the series suggests, the magical world has been deliberately kept hidden, with Hogwarts serving as a sanctuary to maintain its secrets from the non-magical world? There's a sense that the magic of the broader world is intentionally veiled, and Hogwarts is the stage where it all comes to light. Yet, at times, it feels like the world outside remains shrouded in mystery. Why such secrecy, especially when the magical world is so clearly active beyond the school's walls? Number 9. Where are all the people in Harry Potter? In the magical world of Harry Potter, people and places often seem to vanish without a trace, as if they were never there. This is particularly strange given how vast and active the magical community is. Wizards and witches walk in and out of places, leaving no footprints, and even the most significant events seem to happen behind a veil hidden from muggles. For example, the existence of Diagon Alley is a mystery to most ordinary people. They walk past it every day but never notice the entrance, even though it is right under their noses. The world of magic is so well hidden, it often seems like it's actively working to avoid being seen. In Harry Potter, And the Chamber of Secrets, Ron says, "Dumbledore said we should hide, but if we follow him, we'll end up in a place where there's nothing." It's a line that hints at the magical ability to make things and people disappear from sight. It's as if the world of magic is a parallel universe, running alongside the real one, but separated by a curtain that only a few can lift. How can such a vast and complicated world remain so hidden from ordinary people? Magic can erase evidence, create barriers, and even alter perception. Take the Room of Requirement, for example. It is a room that appears only when needed and vanishes once it has served its purpose. No one can truly say where it is, for it is never in the same place. It's as though it doesn't exist until someone needs it, and then when the need is gone, it simply fades away. It's a perfect example of how magic seems to operate on a different plane of existence, where people and places can exist only as long as they are required. The question arises, how do the magical world's most important people and events stay hidden for so long? Why is the wizarding world so elusive to muggles? The answer might lie in the very nature of magic itself. It is not just a tool of power, but a force of concealment, a way to keep the ordinary world at arm's length. Wizards have found ways to live among us without ever being noticed, to work in the shadows, and even to erase their traces as if they were never there at all. It's a mystery that lingers throughout the series, never fully explained but always felt. Number 10, magical rules. Why do they exist? In the magical world of Harry Potter, there are strict laws and limitations that govern the use of magic. However, the question arises, if wizards are so powerful, why can't they change or bypass rules that sometimes seem outdated or ineffective? Take, for example, the law that prohibits the use of magic on Muggle territory. It seems absurd given that wizards can easily break these laws or find ways around them. After all, magic itself is limitless, so why do these restrictions still stand? Professor Dumbledore always said that it's important to follow magical laws, Harry remembers, even when they seem meaningless. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. The laws seem to restrict wizards, but Dumbledore's insistence suggests there's more to it than mere tradition. These rules are not simply about control, they're about preserving balance. Yet when wizards like Harry, Ron, and Hermione break the rules, whether it's using magic to defeat enemies or bending the rules of time, there's a strange feeling that the laws themselves might be more flexible than we think. For example, the use of magic against muggles is a law that many wizards find problematic. Magic is, after all, far more powerful than any muggle law could be. But wizards continue to follow this rule, even when they have the power to break it without consequence. The idea that a wizard can easily ignore or sidestep these regulations challenges the supposed effectiveness of these rules. The Ministry of Magic, with all its authority, can't even fully enforce them, as seen when Harry and his friends break the rules on numerous occasions and nothing happens until they are caught. Perhaps the truth is that these magical laws aren't meant to be broken even when wizards have the power to do so. Magic is not just about power, it's about discipline. The rules exist not to stifle creativity but to maintain order in a world where too much power could easily lead to chaos. Wizards, despite their immense abilities, are still bound by the constraints of their own laws. They may not be above their magic, after all. Number 11, magic and its strange limitations. In the world of Harry Potter, magic often appears limitless, but it's clear that there are boundaries even the most powerful wizards cannot cross. Death, for instance, remains an insurmountable force, despite the incredible magical abilities that wizards possess. The Deathly Hallows, a set of powerful artifacts that supposedly allow one to master death, highlight this paradox. But even with such power at their disposal, wizards cannot truly escape death. Dumbledore, perhaps the greatest wizard of all, makes it clear that death is beyond the reach of magic. Do not pity the dead, Harry, pity the living, and above all, those who live without love, Dumbledore says in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. He explains that no magic, no matter how strong, can undo death. The Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak, these are the three Hallows, the supposed keys to conquering death. Yet in the end they reveal their limitations. The Resurrection Stone brings only shadows of the dead, never true life. The Elder Wand, despite its power, is bound by its own rules. And the Invisibility Cloak, though a marvelous artifact, doesn't shield one from death itself. Why then do wizards, who can manipulate reality, control the weather, and even alter time, fall short when it comes to the one thing that affects them all, death? It seems that magic, in all its glory, operates within a set of rules that even the most talented wizards cannot break. Perhaps, as Dumbledore suggests, death is part of a larger balance, something that must be respected and not tampered with. The wizarding world's inability to conquer death is not just a limitation of magic. It is a reminder of the natural order. The constant struggle to defy death, whether through the pursuit of the Hallows or through darker means like Horcruxes, only leads to suffering and destruction. Dumbledore's wisdom suggests that while magic can create wonders, it must also accept the inevitable. Death, in the end, is the one thing no spell can change. Number 12. The logic of magical objects. Magical objects in the Harry Potter series are often pivotal to the plot. They can be more powerful or dangerous than their owners, but strangely, many lose their significance over time. One such object is the wand. A wand is considered the very essence of a wizard's magic, a tool that connects them to the universe. Yet despite its central role, it doesn't make its owner invincible. The most powerful wands still fail under certain circumstances, and that's puzzling. For example, Harry's wand, the famous Elder Wand, could have made him unbeatable. Yet in the Deathly Hallows, Harry's victory over Voldemort doesn't come from the wand's immense power, but from the fact that he is its true master. In a way, Harry's success is more about his choices and intentions than his wand. It was not the wand that was important, but the wizard who wielded it. Later always, this line from the Deathly Hallows is crucial because it speaks to the idea that the wand, no matter how powerful, does not guarantee success. This isn't just a limitation, it's a theme that runs through the entire series. What's even stranger is how wands seem to change allegiance, as we saw when Harry's wand rejected Voldemort's magic. This twist challenges the notion that magical items are simply tools to be controlled. The idea that a wand might refuse to serve its master raises questions. Why does the wand have a mind of its own? The wand chooses the wizard rule isn't just a magical quirk. It suggests something deeper about power, control, and destiny. As Harry learned from Ollivander in the Philosopher's Stone, the wand chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter. It's a reminder that no object is ever truly neutral or predictable, and the connection between a wizard and their wand is far more complicated than just using it for spells. In the end, the magic of these items isn't just about raw power, it's about how they reflect their users and the choices they make. As powerful as wands are, they don't give their owners ultimate control. This serves as a reminder that magic is not just a tool, it's a force intertwined with the user's heart and intentions. And sometimes the deepest magic doesn't come from the wand at all. Number 13, the magical world and muggles. In the magical world of Harry Potter, the division between wizards and muggles is one of the most prominent features, yet it raises an odd paradox. Why do wizards, with their immense magical power, choose to remain so distant from muggles and their struggles? This oddity isn't immediately apparent, for the magical world is full of complexities and traditions that obscure the broader implications of this division. The very existence of a wizarding world hidden in plain sight suggests that there is a conscious effort to keep magic separate from the everyday lives of non-magical people. But this separation is more than just a cultural norm. It speaks to deeper moral and philosophical issues regarding power, responsibility, and autonomy. Throughout the series, we see various magical characters express concern about the interaction between the two worlds. Albus Dumbledore, perhaps the most powerful and wise of wizards, often speaks of the need to respect the lives of Muggles. We cannot simply interfere in their world, he tells Harry in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Muggles must learn to live their way. This statement, coming from a man who has the ability to reshape the course of history with his magic, is unsettling. After all, Dumbledore is a character who often takes matters into his own hands, manipulating events for what he believes is the greater good. So why then does he insist that the magical community refrain from interfering in the lives of Muggles? The answer, as Dumbledore suggests, lies in the importance of self-determination. The wizarding world, with its centuries of history and complex traditions, is inextricably tied to the idea of autonomy. Wizards, for all their power, have learned from painful experience that unchecked control, no matter how well-intentioned, can lead to disastrous consequences. This idea is embodied in the rise and fall of Lord Voldemort, a character whose lust for power ultimately causes immense suffering for both magical and non-magical communities. Through Voldemort's actions, the wizarding world witnesses the destructive consequences of using magic to manipulate others, and this lesson serves as a warning. The magical community's reluctance to engage with Muggles also reflects a certain fear of the unknown. Wizards have long operated in secrecy, hiding their magical abilities from the Muggle world. This secrecy is not just about protecting magic from misuse, but also about protecting themselves. Muggles, when faced with the unknown, have historically reacted with fear and hostility. This fear manifests most notably in the form of the Ministry of Magic's constant attempts to maintain a barrier between the two worlds. The Ministry's reluctance to acknowledge Muggle inventions like cars or electricity suggests an underlying anxiety about what would happen if magic were fully integrated into Muggle society. Would wizards lose their sense of identity? Would Muggles, in their pursuit of power, come to see magic as a threat to their control? Yet this fear does not explain everything. After all, wizards, when they do interact with Muggles, can do so without causing harm. Consider the example of the Weasley family's interactions with Muggles. The Weasleys, despite their magical background, live among Muggles in relative harmony. They are not above using magic to make their lives easier, but they also respect Muggle customs and do not impose their power on others. This balance of respect and caution illustrates that the issue is not one of capability, but of choice. The Weasleys, particularly Arthur Weasley, represent the possibility of peaceful coexistence between the two worlds. Arthur's fascination with Muggle technology, for instance, is born not out of a desire to control, but to understand. He sees the ingenuity of Muggles not as a threat, but as a marvel of human creativity. This attitude contrasts sharply with the Ministry's more fearful stance, which insists on keeping the two worlds apart. This fear of contact with Muggles is also reflected in the educational system of the wizarding world. At Hogwarts, students are taught to value their magical heritage and keep their abilities secret. The school's curriculum is designed to reinforce the divide between the magical and non-magical worlds. The very existence of the Forbidden Forest and other such areas on the school grounds can be seen as a metaphor for the way the wizarding world views muggles: dangerous, mysterious, and best left unexplored. In fact, primary threat to the magical community in the Harry Potter series, Voldemort, arises from the very fear and mistrust that the wizarding community harbours toward outsiders. Voldemort's followers, the Death Eaters, are not just devoted to magic, but to the idea of wizarding superiority. They seek to dominate muggles, seeing them as inferior and unworthy of coexistence with magical beings. This ideology, which reflects deep-rooted prejudices, is a direct result of the separation that exists between the two worlds. The role of magic itself further complicates this divide. Magic in the world of Harry Potter is portrayed as both a blessing and a curse. It offers wizards the ability to perform extraordinary feats, yet it also creates a sense of isolation. As Harry himself experiences throughout the series, magic often sets wizards apart from others, making them feel both powerful and alienated. This alienation is particularly evident in the character of Harry, who is raised in the Muggle world but is thrust into the magical world with little understanding of how to navigate it. Harry's own struggle to reconcile his dual identity, half wizard, half Muggle, is a reflection of the tensions that exist between the two worlds. Number 14, Mysteries of Magical Creatures. In the magical world of Harry Potter, there exists an array of fantastic and often perplexing creatures. Some are familiar, such as owls or dragons, while others are shrouded in mystery, leaving readers to wonder about their true nature and purpose. Among these enigmatic beings is the Phoenix, a creature that embodies both majesty and mystery. This magical bird, immortal and powerful, seems to defy the rules of time and space. It constantly regenerates, rising from its own ashes, yet its role in the larger narrative of the Harry Potter series often raises more questions than answers. The Phoenix is introduced in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets when Fawkes, Dumbledore's loyal companion, aids Harry in the final battle against the basilisk. Fawkes's tears heal Harry's venomous wounds, demonstrating the bird's healing powers. But why does Fawkes, a creature of such immense ability, choose to intervene in this specific moment, and why is his power not more widely used or discussed in the wizarding world? The Phoenix is clearly a creature of immense importance, yet its powers are often seen in a rather symbolic light, as opposed to being practically utilized. Dumbledore himself, when explaining the nature of the Phoenix to Harry, remarks that Fawkes is not just a bird, but a symbol of hope, of truth, and of the search for redemption. However, it's hard not to wonder if the Phoenix could serve a more practical role in the magical world than merely being a symbol. The true nature of the Phoenix becomes even more intriguing when one considers its immortality. The Phoenix, unlike any other magical creature, has the ability to die and be reborn. This process of resurrection could easily make it a key player in the magical community's struggles against dark forces. Why then is the Phoenix not enlisted in the fight against Voldemort and his followers? If a Phoenix can regenerate itself from death, why wouldn't it be the ideal creature to aid in such dire battles? And yet, despite its potential, the Phoenix remains largely absent from the larger conflicts. This absence raises questions about the creature's true role and what it might represent beyond its physical and symbolic attributes. Dumbledore's relationship with Fawkes is a key aspect of the creature's role in the story. The bird is not just a companion, but also a confidant and a symbol of Dumbledore's own struggles. Fawkes's loyalty and willingness to assist Dumbledore, especially during critical moments, reveal a deeper connection between them. It's clear that Fawkes is more than just a bird. He is a reflection of Dumbledore's own journey, a journey of sacrifice, selflessness, and ultimate truth. When Fawkes bursts into flames and is reborn, it mirrors Dumbledore's own commitment to rise above the challenges and darkness he faces. The Phoenix's regenerative nature echoes the theme of renewal, of redemption, and of the enduring power of hope. Yet, even with such an important role in Dumbledore's life, the Phoenix's presence in the wider magical community is puzzling. If Fawkes, a phoenix, can heal and resurrect, why are other magical creatures, or even wizards themselves, not making use of this power? The question of why the phoenix is not more widely used in magical healing or warfare lingers throughout the series. The most direct answer seems to be that the phoenix, like many magical creatures, serves a specific symbolic purpose rather than a practical one. However, this explanation doesn't fully satisfy the reader's curiosity about what more the phoenix could do in the context of the magical world. In addition to Fawkes, there are other examples of magical creatures that appear to serve primarily symbolic roles rather than practical ones. Take, for example, the unicorn. The unicorn is another majestic and mythical creature that appears in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It is described as pure and untouchable, a symbol of grace and beauty. However, its role in the story is limited to being an object of fascination and a symbol of innocence. The unicorn's blood is considered highly valuable, capable of granting immortality, but it is not utilized for practical purposes in the way one might expect from such a powerful creature. This raises the question: if creatures like the unicorn and the phoenix possess such incredible abilities, why are they not used more effectively by the magical community? The magical creatures in Harry Potter seem to occupy a liminal space between symbolism and practicality. While they are undoubtedly important to the narrative, they often remain enigmatic and underutilized in the more practical aspects of wizarding life. Fawkes, for instance, is a deeply symbolic creature tied to Dumbledore and the larger theme of death and resurrection. Yet his role in the fight against Voldemort is minimal. While Fawkes is instrumental in Harry's victory over the basilisk, he does not play a prominent role in the larger battle against the Dark Lord. This absence of the Phoenix in the broader conflict is particularly puzzling, given its potential power. This question of symbolism versus practicality also extends to other magical creatures such as the hippogriff, the giant, and the house elf. Each of these beings has a unique and fascinating set of abilities, yet their roles in the series are often limited. The hippogriff, for example, is a majestic creature that is capable of incredible feats of strength and agility, yet it is mostly used as a symbol of pride and honor in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, rather than for practical purposes. The house elf, while deeply connected to the themes of servitude and freedom, is largely relegated to the background, with characters like Dobby and Creature playing only limited roles in the larger narrative. Number 15. The story with multiple prophecies. The prophecy surrounding Harry Potter has always been one of the most puzzling and perplexing elements of J.K. Rowling's magical universe. It's not just the prophecy itself, but the layers of mystery surrounding it that make it feel like a key piece in the grand puzzle of Harry's fate. The prophecy is significant because it dictates the role Harry plays in the final battle against Voldemort. It is, without a doubt, central to the entire story, yet its timing and the secrecy that shrouds it raise many questions. The more one reflects on the prophecy, the more it seems that its presence is not as straightforward as it appears. Why was the prophecy kept hidden from Harry for so long? And why did Dumbledore choose to protect it with such fervor? Especially when it's clear that the outcome of the war hinges on it. The prophecy is introduced in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix when Harry overhears a conversation between Professor Dumbledore and Professor Snape in the Hogwarts headmaster's office. They discuss the contents of the prophecy that was made when Harry was a baby, a prophecy that Voldemort believed was about Harry, but which Dumbledore had kept secret. The prophecy states that the one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, born to those who have thrice defied him, born as the 7th month dies. The prophecy, however, does not give Harry the clear answer he is looking for. It does not explain why he was the chosen one, nor does it provide any clues as to how to defeat Voldemort. It's as though the prophecy has a life of its own, floating around Harry's life without offering a tangible solution to the problem. One of the most curious aspects of the prophecy is that Dumbledore, the man who is usually open and candid with Harry, keeps this vital piece of information hidden from him for so long. When Harry finally learns of the prophecy's existence, Dumbledore admits that he had intentionally kept it from him for Harry's own safety. "You must know this, Harry, but I cannot tell you everything. It is too dangerous," Dumbledore tells him. This statement, while seemingly logical on the surface, raises further questions. Why is it too dangerous for Harry to know the prophecy? Why not tell him from the beginning, when Voldemort was still just a dark force terrorizing the wizarding world? What is the secret that Dumbledore is so desperate to keep hidden? As the story unfolds, the deeper mysteries surrounding the prophecy continue to multiply. When Harry hears the prophecy in full, its meaning becomes even more ambiguous. The prophecy does not give Harry clear instructions on how to defeat Voldemort or what steps he must take to protect the wizarding world. Instead, it speaks only of a chosen one, someone who will have the power to end the Dark Lord's reign, but it offers no answers as to what that power might be or how it might manifest. The prophecy is incomplete in its clarity, and the uncertainty surrounding it grows as the story progresses. It's especially perplexing to consider the significance of the prophecy after Harry has learned it. The prophecy does not lead to a neatly tied-up solution in the battle against Voldemort. Instead, it becomes a symbolic anchor in the story, adding a layer of complexity without offering a resolution. If the prophecy was so important, one might expect it to be the ultimate key to Harry's victory. Yet, as the reader knows, the prophecy doesn't bring about an immediate or clear-cut path to Voldemort's downfall. In fact, the prophecy's vagueness only fuels the uncertainty, leading Harry to question the very nature of his destiny. What's even more puzzling is the fact that the prophecy's revelation does not offer Harry any sense of comfort or empowerment. Instead, it seems to do the opposite. The prophecy places an enormous burden on Harry, especially when he learns that he is the one who must ultimately defeat Voldemort. This new knowledge forces Harry to confront the reality of his destiny, one that is filled with danger, uncertainty, and loss. There is no clear indication of how Harry will succeed, only the weight of the prophecy itself and the awareness that he alone is responsible for stopping Voldemort once and for all. As if this confusion wasn't enough, the prophecy's role in the conflict is complicated by the presence of another prophecy. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, we learn that there was another prophecy, one that could have referred to Neville Longbottom instead of Harry. This revelation casts further doubt on the true meaning and importance of the original prophecy. If Voldemort had targeted Neville instead of Harry, would the outcome have been the same? Would Neville have been the one to defeat him, or would the prophecy have led them both down a different path entirely? This twist challenges the idea that the prophecy is the ultimate force dictating Harry's fate. Another strange aspect of the prophecy is the way it is connected to the concept of free will. If the prophecy is so central to Harry's journey, why does it seem to undermine the agency of the characters involved? The prophecy itself, with its focus on a chosen one, seems to suggest that Harry's fate is already written. However, throughout the series, Harry's actions, his bravery, His ability to form alliances and his choices are shown to be essential in determining the outcome of the war. The idea that Harry's destiny is already sealed by the prophecy clashes with the series' overarching theme of self-determination and the power of choice. Number 16, the Deathly Hallows, legend or reality? The Deathly Hallows are perhaps one of the most mysterious and intriguing aspects of the Harry Potter universe. These artifacts, the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak, are presented as not only powerful but also dangerous. They possess the ability to grant immense power, resurrection, and invulnerability. Yet the very existence of such potent objects raises a series of curious questions that have lingered in the minds of readers for years. Why were these powerful artifacts allowed to exist in the first place, and why were they so poorly hidden despite their tremendous potential for destruction? When we first encounter the tale of the Deathly Hallows, it is through the tale of the Peverell brothers in the Tales of Beedle the Bard. The three brothers, in a display of hubris and arrogance, encounter Death himself, who offers them three powerful gifts. These gifts, intended as rewards for outsmarting Death, would go on to shape the destiny of the magical world. But what is truly baffling is the fact that these gifts, which could bring one close to mastering Death, were not hidden or guarded with the utmost secrecy. In fact, the story of these artifacts had been passed down through generations, almost like an open secret within the wizarding community. If the Deathly Hallows were so powerful, why were they not safeguarded more carefully? One might expect that such dangerous artifacts would have been buried in the depths of magical history, their existence known only to a select few. Instead, they are widely known, even among muggles, as the stuff of legend. For centuries, witches and wizards knew the story of the Hallows, yet the very ones who were aware of their existence did little to ensure their safety or to prevent their misuse. It seems that in the magical world, despite the potential for catastrophic consequences, there was a peculiar kind of recklessness when it came to these artifacts. This raises the question, why were these powerful items allowed to remain in the public eye at all? The Elder Wand, a wand of unmatched power that could defeat any adversary, is the most obvious of the three to cause concern. The Resurrection Stone, which could bring back the dead, could easily lead to moral and ethical dilemmas, not to mention its potential for misuse. And the Invisibility Cloak, while seemingly harmless, could allow anyone to go undetected, making it a perfect tool for spies and criminals. Yet these objects were not hidden away or destroyed. They were allowed to persist in magical folklore passed down through generations. This suggests a level of complacency in the wizarding world about the very real dangers they posed. Albus Dumbledore, in his wisdom, recognizes the danger the Hallows represent. He understands the significance of the Elder Wand and the Resurrection Stone, particularly the fact that the pursuit of such power often leads to a tragic end. Dumbledore himself, having sought the Hallows in his youth, understands that the true power of these objects lies not in their use, but in the temptation they offer. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Dumbledore explains to Harry, "The Deathly Hallows are not just a legend, Harry. They are a trial. If you understand them, you will understand much more." This statement encapsulates the nature of the Deathly Hallows. They are not merely powerful tools, but tests of the human soul, challenging those who seek them to confront their deepest desires and fears. But if the Hallows were so dangerous, why did no one try to destroy them? If wizards and witches truly understood the risks of possessing such artifacts, why did they not make an effort to remove them from history entirely? The answer lies perhaps in the fact that there is an inherent fascination with power, even in the wizarding world. The very idea of wielding such immense strength, of mastering death itself, is too alluring for many to resist. The Elder Wand, which was lost to history and sought by countless dark wizards, is a perfect example. The wand's allure was so strong that even the most powerful witches and wizards, such as Gellert Grindelwald and Lord Voldemort, were willing to sacrifice everything to possess it. The Resurrection Stone is similarly dangerous, not because it can truly bring back the dead, but because it taps into the deepest human desire to reverse death. This is the temptation that Dumbledore himself fell victim to, as he once sought the stone in an attempt to bring back his beloved sister, Ariana. The stone, while capable of calling forth the spirits of the dead, is a reminder that death is not something that should be tampered with. The use of the stone, as seen with Harry's encounter with his parents in the Forbidden Forest, shows that while the dead may return for a brief moment, they cannot truly be resurrected. The illusion it offers is a dangerous one, encouraging those who use it to cling to the past, preventing them from moving on. The invisibility cloak on the surface seems like the least dangerous of the Hallows, but it is no less significant. It is a symbol of hiding, of escaping from the world around you. Its power lies not in invisibility alone, but in the temptation to avoid facing the harsh realities of life. Throughout the Deathly Hallows, Harry's use of the cloak serves as both a practical tool and a metaphor for his own journey. Harry, who constantly hides from the truth about his own destiny and the burden he carries, is forced to confront the reality of the war and the fight against Voldemort, even when he is tempted to use the cloak to disappear. The cloak, like the other Hallows, offers a way out, but it also requires one to come to terms with the consequences of using it. The question remains, why did the wizarding world allow such powerful artifacts to remain a part of their history? The answer may lie in the inherent complexity of magic itself. Magic, as seen throughout the series, is not simply a tool to be wielded at will. It is a force that demands respect and understanding. The Deathly Hallows, with their immense power, are no exception. They are not meant to be used for personal gain or glory, but to test the hearts of those who seek them. The fact that they were allowed to remain in legend is a reflection of the fact that magic is not just about power. It is about the choices we make, the lessons we learn, and the consequences we face. In the end, the Deathly Hallows are not simply relics of a bygone era, but a mirror of the choices that wizards and witches must make when faced with power. They are symbols of the balance between life and death, between control and surrender. The fact that they were allowed to remain in the public eye despite their destructive potential is a testament to the wizarding world's struggle with the very nature of power itself. The Deathly Hallows are not just a legend, they are a reflection of the human soul and the choices that define us. Number 17. Triumphant returns and disappearances. In the world of Harry Potter, certain moments leave us questioning the seemingly magical way characters disappear and reappear without much explanation. It is not the fantastical spells or enchanted objects that raise eyebrows, but rather the sudden, unaddressed absences of familiar faces, sometimes for years, only to have them return as if no time has passed. A prime example of this phenomenon is Gilderoy Lockhart, a character who enters the series with great fanfare but then vanishes from the narrative only to resurface years later. His disappearance, especially considering his fame and the dramatic events surrounding his departure, highlights an odd and unexplained narrative choice that begs for further exploration. Lockhart's initial disappearance occurs at the end of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, where he, after a botched attempt to erase the memories of his previous victims, becomes a shell of his former self. Instead of being a celebrated figure, he is left as a man who has lost all memory of his past including his identity. However, despite the weight of his disgrace, the story moves on and Lockhart is not mentioned again. The books continue and his absence remains unaddressed. No references, no clues as to where he went or how he was taken care of after his tragic end. This sudden removal from the plot seems to suggest that characters like him can simply fade away without anyone noticing. Then in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Lockhart makes a surprising return, though still a shell of his former self. He is now living in St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries, residing in a ward for the memory challenged. His reappearance is jarring. There is no mention of where he was or what happened in the intervening years. The years of silence are passed off with a simple statement. "A long road back, Harry, a very long one." At each point, this vague explanation offers no real closure to the questions raised by his absence. He is reintroduced as though nothing significant has occurred in his absence, yet the reader can't help but wonder, how did a celebrity like Lockhart, who was so ingrained in the magical world, simply disappear? Why was no one concerned, given the gravity of his situation? This instance of sudden disappearance and reappearance is not an isolated case. In the world of Harry Potter, it seems that wizards and witches can vanish from society without anyone batting an eye. Consider the case of Sirius Black. After being wrongly imprisoned in Azkaban for a crime he didn't commit, he spends 12 years as an outcast. He was assumed to have been a murderer and traitor, and yet his name is barely mentioned in the magical world for more than a decade. It's as if his existence simply didn't matter to the greater community, despite the fact that his family name Black carried considerable weight in wizarding society. When Sirius does eventually return, first as a fugitive and then as Harry's godfather, no one seems particularly surprised. While his return is more impactful than Lockhart's, the idea that someone could simply vanish for 12 years and then reappear without a clear public record of events remains striking. Even Dumbledore, the most powerful and revered wizard in the magical world, experiences a form of disappearance in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. After the tragic death of his mother and sister, Dumbledore goes into a kind of self-imposed isolation. His absence from the wizarding world during this time is never fully explored. When he reappears to take on his role as Hogwarts headmaster, he never fully accounts for the years spent searching for the Horcruxes or unraveling the dark secrets of Voldemort's past. While his absence is more justified due to his secretive nature and the immense importance of his mission, the lack of explanation about his time away from the public eye still raises questions. The magical world, it seems, is one in which disappearing is a relatively easy feat. For certain characters, the disappearance doesn't appear to matter at all. Their lives can be veiled in mystery and their absences brushed aside as if they were never truly gone. But why is this the case? The reader is left wondering if magical society has an odd sense of detachment, or if the very nature of magic allows people to escape scrutiny, even when they hold influential positions. The plot rarely addresses these absences directly, and it seems to be a trait of the wizarding world that people can simply fade into the background without causing much disruption. The magical community's apparent indifference to these absences could be reflective of the very nature of wizarding society itself. Wizards and witches live in a world where the extraordinary is commonplace. It is a world where magical objects, fantastical creatures, and enchanted spells are part of everyday life. In such a world, the boundaries between the exceptional and the ordinary blur. The idea of someone vanishing for an extended period might not be as shocking as it would be in the non-magical world, where an absence would raise immediate questions and concerns. In the wizarding world, however, the perception of time and identity may be more fluid, and the disappearance of a person may be seen as just another oddity among many. Another possibility lies in the nature of memory itself. Many of the characters who disappear in the series seem to have some connection to memory manipulation. Lockhart, as mentioned earlier, is a master of memory charms, and his erasure of memories leads to his downfall. But memory also plays a role in the way other characters' disappearances are handled. The obliviate charm, which erases memories, is a common tool used to cover up important events or even whole lives. Could it be that the absence of certain characters is a result of this widespread magical erasure of memory? The reader is left with the sense that these characters' comings and goings are part of the magical world's larger tendency to alter and reshape the past, especially when inconvenient truths might emerge. It is also important to consider how these disappearances and returns reflect the larger themes of the series. For Harry Potter, the journey of understanding and accepting loss is a constant undercurrent. The characters who disappear and then reappear are often those who hold significant meaning for Harry's journey, whether that be a figure of authority, a symbol of love, or a mentor figure. The absences might reflect the inevitable gaps in Harry's own understanding of the world. Like any child growing up, Harry must come to terms with the fact that people, even those he loves, will not always be present in his life. The characters who disappear and return represent a kind of impermanence that mirrors the fleeting nature of time itself. The erratic appearances and disappearances of certain characters serve as a reminder that the magical world is not bound by the same rules as the non-magical world. People can slip in and out of focus, their lives interrupted or altered by forces beyond their control. For some characters, this makes perfect sense. Their absence is part of their hidden lives, part of the mysteries they are involved in. For others, like Lockhart, their disappearances feel more like an unexplained plot device. It suggests that in the world of Harry Potter, people are able to walk in and out of the narrative as they please, and the reader must accept this as another of the series' magical peculiarities. Perhaps the most intriguing question raised by these disappearances is not why characters leave, but why no one seems to notice. In the magical world, where the extraordinary is the norm, it might be that the unusual becomes invisible. What we see as odd or out of place, disappearances, absences, sudden returns, becomes an everyday occurrence in a world where magic rules and the rules of the ordinary world no longer apply. The missing characters are not merely out of sight. They are part of a world where the most bizarre things can happen and still go unnoticed. Lockhart's return, Sirius's sudden reappearance, and Dumbledore's unexplained absences all create a sense of disconnection in the narrative. These characters do not provide neat, satisfying explanations for their disappearances, and this deliberate ambiguity reinforces the sense that the world of Harry Potter is one in which the lines between what is normal and what is possible are often blurred. The answer to why certain characters disappear and reappear may simply lie in the very nature of magic itself. In the world of wizards and witches, things are never as they seem, and sometimes that includes people. Number 18, spells and their strange limitations. In the world of magic, within the Harry Potter series, it often seems that spellwork is the ultimate tool for overcoming obstacles, solving problems, and defending oneself. However, one noticeable and somewhat strange aspect of magic is the limitations placed on even the most powerful of spells. These limitations challenge the conventional idea of a universal spell, a charm that would work without fail, no matter the circumstances. Yet, as the story unfolds, readers are often reminded that even the most destructive of spells, such as Avada Kedavra, do not possess absolute power. This is a perplexing and intriguing element of the magical world. one that raises questions about the inherent flaws in magical laws and the boundaries that even the most formidable spells face. Consider, for instance, the infamous Avada Kedavra curse, the killing curse. This spell is introduced early in the series as one of the most powerful and dangerous incantations in existence. The power to end a life with a single word, Avada Kedavra, is a terrifying thought. In the hands of the Dark Lord, Voldemort, it becomes an emblem of his dominance, a tool for fear, and a symbol of his power. Yet, despite its destructive potential, Avada Kedavra is not infallible. It does not always work as expected, nor does it guarantee success, even in the hands of the most skilled wizards. For example, when Voldemort first attempts to use the curse on baby Harry Potter, the spell rebounds, leaving the boy with only a lightning-shaped scar. This is one of the most significant plot points of the entire series. The curse was supposed to kill Harry, yet it failed. Instead, it resulted in Voldemort's own near destruction. Why would such a powerful spell fail in such a dramatic and unexpected manner? The situation with Harry's survival after the curse's rebound hints at a deeper complexity within the magical world. Despite its deadly reputation, Avada Kedavra is not a foolproof weapon. Its power is mitigated by more than just the skill of the wizard casting it. The first time Harry survives the curse, it's due to his mother's sacrificial protection, something the spell cannot overcome. Lily Potter's selfless love for her son shields him from death in a way that even Voldemort, with all his mastery of dark magic, cannot counter. It's not just the magic of the curse that is crucial to its effect. It is also the nature of the magical world itself, specifically the protection born from love. This magical layer, invisible yet all-encompassing, disrupts the expected result of the curse, highlighting an anomaly in the logic of spells. There are other moments throughout the series where the limitations of spells are evident. One such example is the use of the Muggle-repelling charm. This charm is designed to make magical places or objects unappealing to Muggles, but it's not an absolute solution. For instance, when the Weasley family uses the charm to keep Muggles away from their house, it only works to a certain extent. Muggles are still able to wander onto the property and the charm does not prevent them from accidentally stumbling upon it. While it's effective in its intended use, its limitations make it clear that magic isn't all-powerful, and that certain factors, such as the human will or chance, can interfere with the intended outcome. Even the seemingly universal levitation charm, Wingardium Leviosa, has its limits. While it is a basic spell taught to first-year students at Hogwarts, it's far from perfect. It can be difficult to control, as shown when Ron Weasley struggles with it during their first lesson, causing his feather to hover erratically. Even Hermione Granger, who is generally portrayed as the most talented student, has trouble mastering it under pressure, suggesting that precision, focus, and control are all required for success. This minor spell, which seems so basic, illustrates that magic is not infallible. It requires more than just the correct wand movement or incantation. There's a certain finesse and understanding needed to achieve the desired effect. Furthermore, the limitations of magical spells extend beyond their efficacy. Even the most powerful spells come with dangerous consequences if used incorrectly. The use of the unforgivable curses serves as a prime example. While Avada Kedavra may seem like the ultimate tool for destruction, the other unforgivable curses, such as the Cruciatus Curse and the Imperius Curse, hold their own dangers. The Cruciatus Curse, which causes excruciating pain to the victim, is not only physically torturous but also morally and psychologically damaging to the caster. A wizard who uses this curse is forever tainted by their actions. Similarly, the Imperius Curse, which forces the victim to do the caster's bidding, can strip the caster of their own morality and humanity. The very act of casting these spells carries its own cost, as shown in the gradual descent of characters like Bellatrix Lestrange, who become increasingly unhinged from using dark magic repeatedly. In this sense, spells, while powerful, are not without their consequences, both for those who use them and those on the receiving end. One of the most striking limitations of magic in the Harry Potter universe is the concept of intent. It's not enough to simply say the words or wave the wand. The caster's intent plays a significant role in determining the outcome of the spell. This is especially clear when Harry, during his time in the Triwizard Tournament, accidentally uses the Expelliarmus spell to disarm Draco Malfoy. Although this is not a particularly dangerous or powerful spell, Harry's intent is pure. He does not want to harm Draco, but only to defend himself. The power of intent is critical to the spell's effect, suggesting that magic is as much a reflection of the caster's state of mind and emotions as it is about the words or gestures used. The consequences of spellcasting based on intent also surface in the interactions between Harry and Voldemort. In the final battle, Harry's willingness to sacrifice himself to destroy Voldemort is the key to breaking the Dark Lord's hold over the magical world. Voldemort, obsessed with his own immortality and power, casts Avada Kedavra with the belief that it will destroy Harry once and for all. Yet because Harry's intent is one of selflessness and love, the curse is not as effective as Voldemort expects it to be. In fact, Harry's willingness to die for the greater good, while Voldemort's desires are driven by greed and fear, reveals that the true strength of a spell lies not only in the magic but in the heart of the one who casts it. As the story progresses, it becomes increasingly clear that the world of magic is not one of simple cause and effect. Spells, no matter how powerful, cannot guarantee success or destruction. They are bound by the very essence of the wizarding world itself, and often those who wield them must contend with forces beyond their control. The limitations of magic are not simply physical or logical, but are intertwined with the emotional and ethical dimensions of those who practice it. The strength of a spell is not determined by its power alone, but by the intentions and heart of the wizard casting it. Through the twists and turns of the Harry Potter series, the limitations of magical spells remain a constant reminder that even in a world built on the fantastic and the impossible, nothing is ever truly absolute. Magic, no matter how potent, is subject to the complexities of the world around it, and sometimes those complexities can lead to unexpected, sometimes even profound, outcomes. It is this balance between the power of magic and the limits placed on it that makes the world of Harry Potter so compelling, and the mysteries of spells and their effects continue to intrigue fans of all ages. Number 19, The Prophecy of Potter, Mystical Ambiguity. The prophecy about Harry Potter, often cited as the pivotal moment in his struggle against Lord Voldemort, is both an enigma and a source of deep mystery within the story. At its core, it foretells that Voldemort's downfall will be connected to a child who will have the power to vanquish him. But as the tale unfolds, this prophecy, instead of being the clear-cut guide to Harry's destiny, becomes a strange and vague puzzle, whose meaning eludes both the characters and the reader. The prophecy's confusion becomes apparent especially in its execution, creating an unusual paradox. The moment it is fulfilled, its importance seems to fade into the background, raising questions about its true role in the narrative. At the beginning, the prophecy is seemingly definitive in its words. It is revealed in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by Sybil Trelawney, who, in a trance, speaks of a child born at the end of July who would defeat the Dark Lord. The prophecy clearly identifies the child as the one who will bring about the end of Voldemort. However, its path to fulfillment is anything but straightforward. The very nature of the prophecy creates ambiguity. While Voldemort believes it to be about Harry, it could just as easily have referred to Neville Longbottom, another child born in July with the potential to meet the conditions of the prophecy. It is Voldemort's choice to target Harry that sets the prophecy in motion, yet at no point does the prophecy definitively claim that Harry is the only one who could destroy him. This twist of fate, where the prophecy hinges not on the inevitability of events, but on the choices made by others, introduces a theme of uncertainty that pervades much of the series. When Voldemort tries to kill Harry as a baby, he unwittingly marks Harry as his equal, the one who could bring about his demise. This act of marking Harry as a target alters the course of the prophecy, but it also clouds its original meaning. As the years pass, Harry and Voldemort both move through their destinies, each unaware of how their actions are influenced by the prophecy, and each growing into their roles in ways that defy simple prediction. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Dumbledore explains to Harry that the prophecy itself is not an absolute fate, but more of a guiding principle, something that points to a potential future, but leaves the decision about how that future plays out to those involved. This idea is reinforced when Harry reflects on the words of the prophecy, realizing that the destruction of Voldemort is not predetermined but something that must be actively pursued. The prophecy doesn't determine everything, Dumbledore tells him. It is a clue, not a fate. This moment of clarity challenges the notion that prophecies are fixed and unquestionable, suggesting instead that they are shaped by the free will of those involved, a theme that runs through much of the series. But the prophecy's true significance becomes increasingly elusive as it nears its fulfillment. Harry's role in Voldemort's defeat grows, but not in the way the prophecy predicted. The revelation that Harry must die at Voldemort's hands to truly end the Dark Lord's reign is a shock to both Harry and the reader. The prophecy, instead of being a clear directive to victory, is now intertwined with a grim sacrifice that seems to undermine its earlier promise of triumph. In the final moments of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Harry learns that he must willingly sacrifice himself for Voldemort to be vanquished. This act of self-sacrifice does not simply fulfill the prophecy in the traditional sense. Instead, it adds an unexpected layer of meaning, showing that the defeat of Voldemort does not hinge on mere survival, but on Harry's ability to make the ultimate choice, one that cannot be foretold by any prophecy. The ambiguity of the prophecy is also heightened by the strange role of the Deathly Hallows. Throughout Deathly Hallows, Harry is guided toward these powerful objects, which ultimately become essential to his ability to confront Voldemort. Yet, the Hallows are not mentioned in the prophecy. They represent another facet of Harry's journey, one that exists outside the prophetic framework. The Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak are keys to Voldemort's defeat, but none of them are part of the prophecy. This suggests that Harry's victory is not solely tied to the events described in Trelawney's words, but also to his understanding of love, loyalty, and the choices he makes along the way. The way the prophecy weaves through Harry's life, shifting in its meaning and interpretation, speaks to a deeper philosophical question about fate and free will. In the end, it is Harry's actions, his relationships, and his willingness to sacrifice himself that lead to Voldemort's downfall, not the mere fulfillment of a prophecy. The prophecy's vagueness thus serves a purpose. It forces Harry to confront his destiny in his own terms, without the burden of knowing exactly how things must play out. The prophecy itself becomes a tool of manipulation, a device that Voldemort uses to try and control Harry's future, but ultimately it is Harry who shapes his. own fate. When Voldemort unknowingly makes Harry his equal, he sets into motion a series of events that will lead to his own destruction. The prophecy's impact, however, is not about predestination, but about how the characters perceive it and act on it. Voldemort's obsession with the prophecy leads him to make fatal mistakes, while Harry's response to the prophecy is one of cautious acceptance. In Deathly Hallows, Harry understands that his defeat of Voldemort does not rely on the prophecy being literally fulfilled. Instead, he knows that his strength lies in his ability to act in the face of overwhelming odds, in his understanding of love, and in his choice to protect others. The strange, almost mystical quality of the prophecy also points to the idea that destiny is not something fixed or unchangeable. Even though the prophecy outlines a potential future, it is ultimately the character's choices and the twists of fate that make it real. In the end, the prophecy is not a powerful force that controls the events of the story, but rather a reflection of the themes of choice, fate, and sacrifice that run through the entire series. Harry's ultimate triumph comes not from fulfilling the prophecy in its exact form, but from overcoming the limitations that it imposes and recognizing that he is more than just a pawn in a preordained battle. The prophecy about Harry Potter is in many ways a story about the ambiguity of destiny and the complexity of choice. It starts as a seemingly clear prediction, but as the story progresses, it becomes a symbol of the uncertainty and the murkiness that comes with any attempt to understand the future. The ambiguity of the prophecy serves as a key element in Harry's journey, challenging him to define his own path and destiny, and ultimately showing that the true power lies not in following a preordained plan, but in embracing the freedom to choose one's own way. The mystery of the prophecy, rather than being a simple plot device, becomes an essential part of the larger narrative about self-determination, love, and sacrifice. Number 20. Why was Hogwarts such a great school? Hogwarts stands as a towering symbol in the wizarding world, not just a school, but a grand institution, a place where young witches and wizards are shaped for greatness. The castle itself, perched on a cliffside, seems to pulse with power, and it's often described as the very heart of the magical realm. The halls echo with ancient enchantments, and its long history is steeped in mystery. But despite all this, one question lingers in the air. Why was Hogwarts considered the greatest school of magic? If we look closely, we begin to notice that in many ways, the school doesn't always live up to its towering reputation. When Harry Potter first steps into the grand hall of Hogwarts in the Philosopher's Stone, he is awestruck by its size, its history, and the sheer power it seems to contain. And yet, as we move deeper into the story, the question arises, if Hogwarts is truly the pinnacle of magical education, why is it that it seems so vulnerable? Despite its seemingly insurmountable power, the school is consistently at the center of magical conflicts and threats. Why, for example, is the Chamber of Secrets able to exist within the very walls of the school for centuries without detection? Why does the school's most powerful defense, its enchantments, falter at the first sign of danger? One of the most perplexing aspects of Hogwarts is its seeming invincibility, and yet it is repeatedly breached. The Chamber of Secrets, a place shrouded in legend, is hidden within the very walls of the school. It was not discovered until Tom Riddle's diary, a seemingly harmless artifact, was used to manipulate Ginny Weasley into unlocking its secrets. In the Chamber of Secrets, Harry discovers that the ancient chamber has been waiting for someone to open it. Even though the school has existed for over 1,000 years, it took a seemingly trivial object to bring its deepest, darkest secret to light. The fact that a student, not even one of the school's most skilled witches or wizards, could unwittingly unlock such an evil within Hogwarts raises troubling questions about the school's true strength. Furthermore, the structure of Hogwarts itself, while certainly impressive, contains inherent weaknesses that repeatedly come into play throughout the series. The sorting hat, which should be a tool for identifying a student's magical potential, is an object that holds great power, yet is strangely prone to errors. The sorting hat's decision in the Philosopher's Stone, when it considers putting Harry Potter in Slytherin, seems to imply that even the most crucial magical instruments within the school are fallible. If such an important artifact can't even be trusted to sort students correctly, then what does that say about the overall stability of Hogwarts? Its very foundation appears to be built on magic that is less than foolproof. This vulnerability is also seen when we consider the defense against the dark arts position. In The Prisoner of Azkaban, it becomes clear that the position is cursed, as no teacher lasts more than a year. The school, one of the most prestigious magical institutions, cannot seem to keep a stable defense against dark forces. The very nature of this position's impermanence hints at a greater issue within the institution, its inability to effectively deal with the darker aspects of magic that are often too close to home. The fact that Hogwarts has so many dark secrets hidden within it only emphasizes the underlying danger that pulses through its very walls. Hogwarts' inherent power is also questioned when we observe the most significant magical battles in the series. The Battle of Hogwarts, the climax of the Deathly Hallows, is a stark reminder of the fragility of the school. Despite its storied past, it is at the heart of a destructive war. The castle, which is supposed to be a symbol of magical strength, becomes the battleground for the forces of good and evil. The final fight between Harry and Voldemort does not take place in the wizarding world's grandest arenas or magical sanctuaries, but within the very school that was meant to be its center of strength. The fact that the school, despite its long history, finds itself at the center of a war with parts of it literally destroyed speaks volumes about its vulnerability and the unstable nature of magical power within it. Perhaps the greatest contradiction of all is the continued emphasis placed on Hogwarts as a beacon of magical hope, despite its dark history. The school, as we come to learn, was built by the 4 founders, each one representing different facets of the magical world: Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. While Gryffindor's bravery, Hufflepuff's dedication, and Ravenclaw's wisdom are celebrated, Slytherin's cunning has often been associated with dark magic and ambition. Yet the very inclusion of Slytherin House within the school's structure suggests that Hogwarts has always been a place where dark forces are not just tolerated, but integrated into its very foundation. The Sorting Hat, despite its deep ties to Gryffindor's values, recognizes that Slytherin's influence is equally important in shaping the school's identity. The fact that Slytherin's legacy continues to haunt the school, especially in the form of Tom Riddle, Voldemort, further complicates the idea of Hogwarts as a purely righteous institution. This dichotomy between light and dark, good and evil, is a central theme throughout the Harry Potter series. Hogwarts is a place where magic is both nurtured and feared, where students are taught to wield power that could be used for great good or great harm. It's this duality that makes Hogwarts such a powerful symbol. On one hand, it is a place where young witches and wizards come to learn, grow, and find community. On the other, it is a place where those same students, like Harry and his friends, are repeatedly forced to confront the dark aspects of magic and the world they live in. The dangers within Hogwarts also bring to light the question of why the most powerful magical forces in the wizarding world should be concentrated in one place. If Hogwarts is truly a center of magic, then why are the greatest threats to the magical community allowed to exist within its walls? Voldemort's return, which marks the central conflict of the Goblet of Fire, reveals how vulnerable even the most prestigious institution can be to the return of dark magic. The Triwizard Tournament, which is supposed to be a harmless, prestigious event, becomes a gateway for dark forces to enter Hogwarts, culminating in the resurrection of Voldemort. The very structure that was meant to keep students safe becomes a breeding ground for chaos and destruction. Moreover, the question of why the school has such a prominent place in the magical world raises the issue of why such great magical forces are needed in the first place. As we see in The Half-Blood Prince, the use of magic is a deeply political tool. The Ministry of Magic, in its attempt to regulate magical society, has constantly interfered with Hogwarts, undermining its authority and turning the school into a battleground for political control. The school's prominence in the magical world suggests that magic itself is often entangled in power struggles that have far-reaching consequences, even for those who only wish to learn. Finally, the repeated threats to Hogwarts in the series underscore the very point that makes the school such an intriguing place. Despite its grandeur, its history, and its significance, it is a place where magic, like any power, is not inherently good or evil. It is the choices of those who wield it that determine its true nature. In the end, Hogwarts is not just a school, but a microcosm of the larger wizarding world, a world where even the most seemingly invincible institutions can be threatened by the dark magic that lurks within and around them. The magical world, it seems, is always in a state of balance, constantly teetering between light and darkness, and Hogwarts itself stands as the greatest, most dangerous reflection of that delicate equilibrium. Number 21, the magical world and the lack of protective measures. In the magical world of Harry Potter, a place brimming with incredible enchantments, dangerous creatures and fantastic beings, the concept of safety is repeatedly brought into question. The magical protections in place at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, which is meant to be one of the most secure places in the wizarding world, seem to have glaring weaknesses that can be hard to ignore. Throughout the series, these lapses in security leave one wondering how such an advanced magical society could allow such simple vulnerabilities to exist in places that should be impenetrable to danger. A perfect example of this can be found in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, where the legendary and supposedly impregnable Chamber of Secrets is opened time and again with a deadly creature, the basilisk, wreaking havoc on the students inside Hogwarts. Despite the fact that the school is filled with protective enchantments, the chamber itself was able to open and unleash a threat that had been dormant for centuries. This was a place that, as Professor McGonagall confidently declared, no one should be able to access. She assured her students that the chamber was well guarded, stating, "No one can get into the Chamber of Secrets, especially not with wizards like us watching over it." These words would be comforting if the magical world were as secure as it appeared. However, the very fact that Harry and his friends were able to stumble upon clues leading them to open the chamber raises the big question. Why wasn't Hogwarts' security more robust? With all of its centuries of history and the countless powerful witches and wizards who have passed through its walls, why were there so many gaps in its defenses? The whole idea of the chamber being hidden away for so long without anyone noticing it is puzzling enough. It was meant to house a dangerous creature, the basilisk, which could petrify anyone who looked directly into its eyes. It seems that not even the best enchantments at the time had been able to contain such a monster fully. While the chamber was hidden from the general public, how could the basilisk, which was a direct threat to the students, have been left unnoticed and uncontained for so many years? One would imagine that in a place like Hogwarts, where magical wards and charms were thought to keep all threats at bay, this dangerous creature would have been sealed away with far more precautions. Even more perplexing is the fact that such a significant threat was able to arise right under the noses of the staff. As headmaster, Dumbledore was certainly one of the most powerful wizards alive at the time. Yet for all his knowledge and wisdom, he seemed to be unaware of the exact location or existence of the chamber's secrets. The security at Hogwarts had failed on multiple levels. The fact that the chamber was simply waiting for the right person to unlock it suggests an alarming oversight in magical planning. Considering that the school had already faced dangers like dark wizards in the past, it is striking that the magical safeguards which should have been impenetrable failed in such a glaring way. The question that arises is how such breaches in magical security could go unnoticed by people so proficient in magic. While the magical community has centuries of experience, it still fails to anticipate, let alone prevent, the threats that continuously challenge the safety of the wizarding world. This is not just about the Chamber of Secrets. The same logic extends to other critical events in the series where magical security is strangely lacking or too simplistic. How did a teenager like Harry Potter repeatedly manage to uncover secrets hidden away for years by powerful wizards? Surely the magical protections of the wizarding world should have been more foolproof. When Harry and his friends eventually found themselves searching for the entrance to the chamber, they did not need to be highly trained in magic to make significant progress. Instead, they relied on their instincts and courage to discover clues that had been hidden for decades. This makes it all the more puzzling that the most powerful wizards in the world could have missed such an obvious vulnerability. With all the powerful charms and protective spells at Hogwarts, how was it that the entrance to the chamber was hidden in plain sight, easily accessible to a group of first-year students? Another significant flaw lies in the magical defenses used to protect the school and its students. Throughout the series, we learn that while there are plenty of magical protections, they are often too simplistic or too easy to bypass. The Polyjuice Potion, a seemingly complex magical brew, allowed Harry, Ron, and Hermione to transform into other students in order to enter the restricted parts of Hogwarts and gather information. The fact that such a potion, which required only a few ingredients, could be used so effectively points to a vulnerability within the magical security system. It is difficult to believe that someone would not have anticipated this loophole, especially given how much magic is employed in the wizarding world. Additionally, while the magical world seems to have great advancements in its use of charms and spells, the need for secrecy around certain magical practices leads to unexpected failures. The very secrecy of the Chamber of Secrets, which was hidden for so long, makes it clear that the magical world had too much faith in the magical protections that kept it secure. However, as the series progresses, we come to realize that it is not just the exterior magical world that is vulnerable, but the very mindset of the wizards themselves. Overconfidence and secrecy seem to have blinded them to the fact that despite their magical prowess, they were still capable of mistakes. Throughout the Harry Potter series, there are numerous references to the fact that the magical world was not as infallible as it seemed. The fact that Harry and his friends often find themselves in situations where they must uncover hidden secrets points to a larger issue of magical complacency. Even though they were children, Harry and his friends managed to unravel mysteries that seemed impenetrable to the adults who should have been safeguarding the school. The fact that the school had so many hidden secrets waiting to be uncovered by someone with a bit of curiosity and a fair amount of bravery suggests a distinct lack of adequate safeguards. Furthermore, the existence of secret passages and hidden doors within the school reveals an underlying issue with the magical world's approach to security. In a world where powerful wizards and witches are constantly working to maintain order, how could it be that such significant parts of the castle remained hidden, only accessible through specific knowledge or trial and error? In the Philosopher's Stone, we see how the secret passage leading to the trapdoor is guarded by a series of magical obstacles. While these are certainly designed to protect the Philosopher's Stone, they still represent a vulnerability in the sense that an intruder could potentially bypass them through knowledge or trickery, as seen when Harry and his friends use cleverness and a bit of luck to get past them. In hindsight, one might also argue that the students at Hogwarts often seem to be placed in situations where they are far too reliant on their own skills and abilities to stay safe. With so many magical dangers present in their world, the adults who should have been responsible for ensuring their safety often leave students to fend for themselves. From the Triwizard Tournament to the attacks on the school, there is a recurring pattern of magical authority failing to protect its most vulnerable members. While the magical world in Harry Potter is undoubtedly rich in wonder and adventure, it is equally full of odd inconsistencies when it comes to safety. The very fact that Hogwarts, the most prestigious magical school, allows such vulnerabilities to persist calls into question the reliability of magical protections in the wizarding world. The fact that characters like Harry, Ron, and Hermione can repeatedly expose the weaknesses in the school's defenses speaks to a larger issue of overconfidence in magical safeguards and a failure to recognize the very real dangers that can lurk within the seemingly protected walls. In the end, these discrepancies invite readers to question just how secure the magical world truly is, and whether even the most powerful wizards can sometimes miss the most obvious dangers hidden in plain sight. Number 22. Why does everyone remember Fawkes? The story of Harry Potter is filled with magical creatures and powerful beings, yet few of them have made as lasting an impression as Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix. This magical bird appears only at the most critical moments, always offering its aid in a form of miraculous power. What is most striking about Fawkes is not just his help, but the question of why he appears so selectively. In moments of dire need, Fawkes swoops in to heal Harry's wounds, save him from danger, and offer assistance when all seems lost, and yet his role in the broader magical world is surprisingly limited. If phoenixes possess such incredible powers, why aren't they more commonly used or valued within the wizarding community? Why does Fawkes only intervene when Harry's on the edge of death? And why are phoenixes not more systematically employed to solve magical problems? One of the most prominent examples of Fawkes's intervention occurs in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, when Harry faces the basilisk in the dark, damp chamber beneath Hogwarts. As Harry battles for his life, it is Fawkes who arrives, delivering him the sorting hat, which produces Godric Gryffindor's sword. With the sword, Harry is able to defeat the basilisk, and in the aftermath, Fawkes heals Harry's venomous wound with his tears. This act of healing not only saves Harry's life, but also reinforces the idea that Fawkes's tears are a source of unparalleled magical power. As Dumbledore later explains, Phoenix tears can heal almost any wound, including the venomous bite of a basilisk. It is here that the sheer power of a phoenix is made clear, the ability to heal, to resurrect, and to provide life-saving aid. However, the very fact that Fawkes only appears at the most critical moments leaves readers with lingering questions. If phoenixes truly possess such abilities, why is their presence so rare and their role so passive? Why is it that, despite their healing powers, phoenixes are not regularly called upon to assist in the daily troubles of the wizarding world? After all, if a creature could so effortlessly heal the most lethal wounds and grant life-saving assistance, why wouldn't it be used more systematically in times of conflict or danger? Dumbledore himself is a crucial figure in the context of Fawkes's role in the series. As the headmaster of Hogwarts and a key figure in the fight against Voldemort, he seems to rely on Fawkes not as a constant companion, but as a rare symbol of hope, rebirth, and salvation. Fawkes's tears are, after all, not only a healing force, but also a symbol of eternal life and resilience. Dumbledore's own affinity with Fawkes is emblematic of the way in which the phoenix represents a cycle of death and rebirth. Phoenixes, it seems, are a metaphor for the very nature of life and death, whether it is through their ability to heal or their self-immolation and rebirth from their ashes. Yet despite this immense power, phoenixes are not used as a regular tool of intervention in the wizarding world. In Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Fawkes's help takes on another important dimension. When Harry faces the task of rescuing Sirius Black from the clutches of the Death Eaters, it is once again Fawkes who plays a pivotal role. After Harry and his friends enter the Department of Mysteries, they are surrounded by Death Eaters. Fawkes appears to assist them, offering his powerful song to drive away the enemies. Once again, Fawkes's ability to turn the tide of a situation is proven, but the question remains: why does this intervention happen so sporadically? Why is this powerful creature not more involved in the everyday struggles of the magical world, especially when the stakes are so high? It is this very selectiveness that makes Fawkes's appearances so powerful and yet frustratingly ambiguous. The answer, perhaps, lies in the symbolic nature of Fawkes's interventions. Fawkes is not just a magical creature who can heal wounds or fight battles. He is a symbol of hope, of resurrection, and of sacrifice. In moments of extreme need, Fawkes arrives as a reminder that even in the darkest of times there is the potential for renewal and rebirth. His interventions are not about regular solutions to magical problems, but about the deeper meaning behind his actions. Fawkes is a symbol of the cycles of life and death, a reminder that in the most desperate moments there is always the possibility of hope, healing, and transformation. But the question remains: why doesn't the magical community make use of such powerful creatures more often? If phoenixes are so extraordinary, why are they not employed in larger-scale efforts to solve the pressing problems of the wizarding world? The answer might lie in the fact that the presence of a phoenix in a story is often tied to a narrative of personal growth, destiny, or fate. Fawkes's help is not just about physical healing, it is also about the personal journeys of the characters who receive it. Harry, in particular, is a figure who must confront his own fate and the challenges that come with it. Fawkes's help, therefore, comes at moments when Harry is facing a challenge that will shape his destiny, rather than merely providing him with a quick solution. In this way, Fawkes represents something far more profound than just a magical healer or helper. He is a creature who only appears at pivotal moments when the stakes are high and the characters are on the cusp of a transformative experience. Fawkes's role, then, is not about providing regular solutions, but about highlighting the transformative power of life, death, and rebirth. His interventions are designed to help characters grow and face the trials that will define their journey. Furthermore, Fawkes's rarity and selectiveness might be seen as a reflection of the idea that true power is not about constant, unrelenting intervention, but about knowing when to act. The phoenix, in all its majesty, is not a tool to be wielded on a whim, but a rare force that appears only when it is truly needed. This mirrors the way in which the wizarding world itself often relies on moments of fate, destiny, and personal growth. In a world where magic is everywhere, it is the characters and their choices that matter most. The Phoenix's interventions, therefore, are not about solving problems quickly, but about teaching the importance of resilience, hope, and the long arc of personal transformation. The question of why phoenixes are not used more regularly in the wizarding world is ultimately one that touches on the themes of the Harry Potter series itself. Magic is not a solution to all problems, and the characters must learn to rely on their own strength and determination to overcome challenges. The presence of Fawkes, with his miraculous powers, serves as a reminder that sometimes the greatest moments of magic come not from constant intervention, but from the ability to rise above adversity and grow stronger as a result. Ultimately, Fawkes's role in the Harry Potter series is not just about healing wounds or saving lives. It is about the deeper lessons of hope, resilience, and transformation that resonate throughout the books. His rare appearances highlight the importance of these lessons and the significance of personal growth, making his interventions all the more meaningful. Number 23. Amusing prophecies and their fulfillment. In the magical world of Harry Potter, prophecies are a significant but elusive element that often leave the reader puzzled about their true nature. One of the most curious aspects of prophecies in this universe is their unpredictable fulfillment. While prophecies are often perceived as certain predictions, their execution is rarely straightforward. This is particularly evident in the prophecy about Harry Potter and Lord Voldemort. The prophecy itself is wrapped in mystery, leaving ample room for interpretation. Harry's eventual victory over Voldemort does not happen exactly as one might expect from the cryptic nature of the prophecy. In fact, the way the prophecy unfolds is full of unexpected turns, making it difficult to grasp its true meaning. The prophecy about Harry and Voldemort is famously obscure, with the seer Sybil Trelawney's words leaving much open to interpretation. She prophesies that the one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, but does not specify exactly how this will happen. The ambiguity of the prophecy is what makes it such a fascinating yet problematic element in the story. It does not dictate that Harry will be the one to defeat Voldemort in a battle of wands or through an epic confrontation. Instead, it simply identifies Harry as someone with the potential to defeat the Dark Lord. What follows is the unfolding of events where Harry's choices, his friends, and his own character come into play to shape how the prophecy is realized. Dumbledore himself comments on the unpredictable nature of prophecies. He explains to Harry that prophecies are not as absolute as people think. They are often subject to interpretation and the choices made by those involved. This perspective is vital, as it suggests that the prophecy is not a rigid prediction of the future, but rather a potential outcome that depends heavily on human agency. Dumbledore's words reflect the central theme in the series, that destiny is not entirely written in the stars, and that individual choices can change the course of events. The prophecy about Harry and Voldemort is a perfect example of this theme, as it reveals how events can play out in ways that seem unanticipated or even illogical. The role of the prophecy in Harry's life becomes even more complex when considering that it was partially overheard by Severus Snape. Snape's involvement in this incident leads to a series of events that might not have occurred otherwise. Had Snape not reported the prophecy to Voldemort, the entire course of Harry's life could have been different. This twist reveals how prophecies in the Harry Potter universe are not simply foreseen events, but rather dynamic situations that evolve based on how they are interpreted and acted upon. This interpretation, in turn, shapes the way characters react to the prophecy, influencing the very outcomes they seek. What is particularly intriguing about the prophecies surrounding Harry and Voldemort is its inherent irony. Voldemort's actions, driven by his desire to prevent the prophecy from coming true, ultimately set the stage for its fulfillment. The Dark Lord's decision to mark Harry as his equal, believing that the prophecy foretells his doom at Harry's hands, sets the course for the battle that will eventually lead to his downfall. Voldemort's fear of the prophecy becomes his greatest weakness, highlighting the paradoxical nature of fate in the wizarding world. This situation raises the question, is the prophecy merely a self-fulfilling prediction, or does it carry an unpredictable quality that ensures its eventual realization? The unpredictability of prophecies in the Harry Potter series extends beyond just the prophecy about Harry and Voldemort. Another significant prophecy is the one concerning Neville Longbottom. This prophecy, much like Harry's, states that the one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord will be born as the seventh month dies. However, the key difference is that the prophecy does not specify who will be the one to defeat Voldemort. Both Neville and Harry fit the description, making it unclear which child will eventually fulfill the prophecy. The ambiguity of this prophecy is striking, as it highlights how multiple individuals could potentially play the role of the prophesied savior. This uncertainty serves to reinforce the idea that the interpretation of the prophecy is as important, if not more so, than the prophecy itself. The way that both Harry and Neville are affected by the prophecy also demonstrates the theme of choice versus destiny in the series. While Voldemort chooses to target Harry based on his interpretation of the prophecy, Harry himself makes choices that shape his fate. The story does not suggest that Harry is simply a passive instrument of destiny, but rather that he actively participates in shaping his future. This highlights the tension between predestination and free will, a theme that runs throughout the entire series. It is through Harry's actions and decisions, rather than simply through the fulfillment of the prophecy, that he ultimately becomes the one to defeat Voldemort. Dumbledore's comments about the fallibility of prophecy also suggest that there is a deeper, more mysterious force at work in the wizarding world. This hidden force could be the collective actions of the characters themselves, each of whom contributes to the fulfillment of the prophecy in their own way. The fact that the prophecy is fulfilled in a manner that nobody expects suggests that the universe is not as predictable as it may seem. This unpredictability is a recurring theme in the Harry Potter books, as characters constantly face challenges and obstacles that force them to make difficult choices. These choices, in turn, shape the course of events, illustrating how even prophecies which seem to dictate the future are subject to the whims of fate. Moreover, the nature of the prophecies surrounding Harry and Voldemort also raises questions about the concept of fate itself. If a prophecy is so easily distorted or misinterpreted, then can it truly be said to control the future? The events that unfold in the Harry Potter series suggest that fate is not an all-powerful force, but rather something that is shaped by the choices and actions of individuals. The prophecy may provide a vague outline of the future, but it is the people involved who determine how it plays out. Prophecies in the Harry Potter series serve as a powerful narrative tool, allowing for the exploration of themes such as fate, destiny, and free will. The way in which prophecies are fulfilled, often in ways that are unexpected or illogical, reinforces the idea that the future is not set in stone. The characters' decisions and actions play a crucial role in determining the outcome, and even the most powerful prophecies cannot predict the complexity of human agency. This is particularly evident in the case of Harry and Voldemort, where the prophecy does not provide a clear path to victory, but instead leaves room for interpretation and choice. Ultimately, the unpredictability of prophecies in the Harry Potter series reflects the larger themes of the books. The story is not about characters simply fulfilling their destinies, but about how they actively shape their futures through their actions. The prophecy about Harry and Voldemort is a perfect illustration of this, as it is not the prophecy itself that determines the outcome, but rather the choices made by those involved. This dynamic interplay between fate and free will is one of the central themes that makes the Harry Potter series so compelling and enduring. Number 24. Wizards and their strange creeds. In the world of Harry Potter, the magical rules often defy logic and raise questions about the nature of magic itself. Despite the immense power of wizards and witches, there are peculiar limitations placed on their use of magic, especially when it comes to the lives of muggles. It's fascinating that in a world where magic can solve practically any problem, the magical community is so cautious and restrictive. One of the most intriguing aspects is how, despite having the ability to make life immeasurably better for both wizards and muggles, magic remains tightly controlled. This is particularly evident when looking at the Ministry of Magic and the various rules they enforce to ensure the separation of magical and non-magical worlds. The restriction of magic on Muggle territories is an interesting contradiction. Wizards have the power to perform incredible feats, turning objects into gold, healing injuries with a flick of a wand, and even flying without the aid of machines. Yet they are strictly forbidden from using magic in the presence of Muggles, an example being the infamous decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery. This law makes no sense when considering the potential benefits of magic. Why not use magic to help Muggles, to solve global problems, or even to improve the health of the planet? The idea of restricting such power to a specific community raises questions about the nature of control, power, and the fear that comes with having too much of it. The attitude toward magic itself is a reflection of how the wizarding community views its responsibility. Magic is often described as a force that should be used sparingly and with caution, as if it were inherently dangerous. In Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Dumbledore warns Harry about the limitations of magic, telling him, "Magic is a power that must be used with care, Harry, but some things cannot be changed." This perspective implies that while magic has the potential to do great good, it also carries the risk of imbalance, chaos, and unintended consequences. But this explanation feels insufficient when you consider how many times magic has been used to solve problems in the wizarding world, yet it remains tightly controlled. The question arises, why can't wizards use magic freely to improve the lives of others? One of the most obvious reasons is that magic is seen as a dangerous weapon, and the temptation to misuse it is ever present. The Ministry, the governing body of the wizarding world, is structured to maintain order by limiting magical actions that might disrupt the status quo. Despite the abundance of magic in the world, wizards are warned against trying to alter the natural order, whether it's through the use of unforgivable curses, the resurrection of the dead, or other forms of magic that could tip the scales of life. Take, for example, the Forbidden Forest, a place where even the magical creatures are considered dangerous and unpredictable. The Ministry of Magic's inability to fully regulate its own world while simultaneously controlling the use of magic in Muggle territories reveals a paradox in the system's approach to power. Then there's the peculiar role that the wizarding schools play in this process. Hogwarts itself, while a place of education and growth, is not immune to these restrictions. Though students are allowed to learn magic, there are numerous rules about when and where they can practice it. The most notable is the underage magic law that forbids students from using magic outside of school. But when we look at the curriculum at Hogwarts, we see that magic is taught like any other discipline. Students are expected to master their skills in various subjects such as potions, transfiguration, and charms, but the true essence of why magic is so restricted is never fully explained in the books. Why teach students the craft if they cannot use it freely? Consider the example of Hermione Granger, who is one of the most brilliant witches of her age, and yet is bound by the same magical laws that restrict others. Hermione is often seen using magic to help her friends, and in particular, she has no qualms about bending the rules if it means saving her friends or accomplishing a task. But even she is not immune to the weight of the laws that govern magic. She helps Harry and Ron break the rules constantly, using time-turners and spells that defy what is permitted, yet she is always acutely aware of the consequences if they are caught. The question arises, if Hermione, who is portrayed as one of the most ethical characters in the series, is constantly in violation of these laws, does it not suggest that the very rules they follow are at times restrictive and nonsensical? The Ministry of Magic's attempts to regulate magic through laws and decrees also reflect a deeper fear within the wizarding community. Throughout the series, there are examples of dark wizards, Voldemort being the most prominent, who abuse magic to impose their will on others. The Ministry's fear of such figures leads them to impose draconian measures to prevent magic from falling into the wrong hands. But this fear also leads to overregulation, where magic becomes less about empowering people and more about maintaining a strict hierarchy and control. This fear is particularly evident in the way the Ministry responds to Harry's rise to fame. The Ministry insists that Harry's victory over Voldemort is not as significant as the official narrative they wish to push. The Ministry's control over magic, combined with its desire to maintain authority, ends up limiting the potential of what magic could truly do for society. Moreover, the wizarding community's obsession with secrecy and privacy further complicates the issue of magic's potential. The constant need to hide magical activities from Muggles, even when magic could easily benefit them, showcases the contradictions inherent in their society. Wizards live in a world where they could change things for the better, yet choose to remain hidden, suspicious of the outside world. The fact that wizards can perform magic so easily, levitating objects, casting spells and even altering memories, yet refuse to use these powers for the collective good of both worlds, highlights the inherent selfishness in their actions. Magic is a tool for self-preservation, not societal improvement. One of the more intriguing examples of magic's limitations is the story of the Time Turner, a magical object that can reverse time. Hermione's use of the Time Turner is one of the few instances where magic is used to effect change in the past, and yet it is done under the strictest of rules. The Ministry enforces strict guidelines on how time travel magic can be used, not because they fear the magic itself, but because they fear the consequences of what might happen if time itself were altered. This paradox reveals that while magic has the potential to alter reality, there is a deep-seated concern about the consequences of doing so. The Ministry's desire to control this powerful magic reflects the overall theme of control and power that pervades the wizarding world. The presence of dark magic also contributes to the wariness of freely using magic. Dark magic, by its very nature, is designed to control and manipulate others, and as such, the Ministry has instituted strict controls to prevent its widespread use. Yet even within the magical community, dark magic is an inevitable part of their history. Lord Voldemort's reign of terror is a testament to how a single dark wizard can alter the course of history with the use of forbidden magic. The Ministry's attempt to control this form of magic, to restrict its use, and to eradicate it from the wizarding world is a direct response to this terrifying reality. The very fact that dark magic exists and is so powerful creates an atmosphere of fear and caution among the wizarding community, preventing them from fully embracing magic for good. It is also worth noting the paradox of how magical creatures such as house elves and goblins are treated in the wizarding world. These creatures are subjected to rules that limit their autonomy and opportunities, and yet they are integral to the workings of the magical world. The house elves, for example, are bound by their magical contracts, yet they often possess the same abilities as wizards, such as the power to perform complex spells. But their role in society is restricted, and they are often treated as inferior beings. This reflects the inherent hypocrisy within the wizarding world, where those with magical power are often constrained by the very same rules that they impose on others. The rigid control over magic, the strict separation of the magical and non-magical worlds, and the deeply ingrained fear of misusing magical power all contribute to the overall atmosphere of the wizarding world. Magic, with all its potential, is controlled by a system that seeks to maintain balance, but in doing so, it also limits the ways in which it can be used for the greater good. As the series unfolds, it becomes increasingly clear that the real question is not whether magic should be used, but rather how it can be used responsibly. The wizarding world's reluctance to embrace the full potential of magic reflects its deep-seated fears, its desire for control, and its understanding of the immense responsibility that comes with such power. Number 25. The Philosopher's Stone. Why did no one think of selling it? The Philosopher's Stone, a legendary magical object capable of granting immortality, has long intrigued fans of the wizarding world. It is a symbol of power, a relic steeped in centuries of lore. And yet, in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, there is a curious and perplexing aspect about it that tends to go unnoticed at first. Nicholas Flamel, the famed alchemist who created the stone, decides to keep it hidden, never allowing its vast potential to benefit the world. The stone, capable of making one immortal, could have easily been used for good, shared among the sick, used to prolong the lives of the disadvantaged, or even distributed to governments and organizations who might use its powers for progress. But instead, Flamel and his wife choose to live in solitude, guarding it with secrecy and caution. This decision raises an intriguing question. Why didn't Flamel consider selling the Philosopher's Stone? Could its sale have not brought untold prosperity, or perhaps even saved lives? In a world filled with numerous magical artifacts, objects of incredible power, one would think that such a valuable asset could be put to use for the greater good. Yet Flamel's steadfast refusal to let the stone be used for anything other than his own benefit has led to questions about his motivations. After all, if immortality were within his reach, why not use it to help others? Why hide it away in a place as secretive as Hogwarts with only a handful of people aware of its existence? This decision, while a key plot point in the book, feels strange given the stone's potential to change lives on a global scale. Nicolas Flamel is a name rooted in history, known primarily for his supposed discovery of the Philosopher's Stone. In Rowling's world, Flamel is portrayed as a well-respected alchemist, a man who has lived for centuries thanks to the magic of the stone. Yet despite his long life and the wisdom that would accompany it, he seems to harbour a deep mistrust of the potential dangers that the stone could bring if it were used incorrectly. In his words, "I cannot use the stone for the good of all, it's too dangerous." This declaration carries a weight of forewarning, an acknowledgement that immortality, though an enticing gift, is fraught with peril. For Flamel, the risk of others misusing the stone is simply too great, and so he chooses to keep it locked away, out of reach from those who might exploit it. This fear of misuse raises a fascinating paradox. The stone itself is presented as an incredibly powerful magical artifact, something that could transform the world. It could be used to heal the sick, to cure diseases that plague humanity, or to extend life for those in desperate need. Instead, Flamel insists on protecting it, driven by an irrational, perhaps even selfish, desire to keep its power confined. The world of magic, with its many powerful and dangerous objects, could have easily absorbed the stone into its vast network of mystical tools. But Flamel, despite being one of the oldest and most learned wizards in existence, chooses to preserve the stone's power for himself, rejecting the idea of allowing others to benefit from it. But the story doesn't end with Flamel. The novel offers a view into the deep, complex relationships surrounding the stone. One must ask, why doesn't Dumbledore, a man of immense wisdom and understanding of the magical world, intervene? If anyone should be trusted with such an artifact, it would surely be Dumbledore, hey, who has been instrumental in protecting the wizarding world from dark forces. And yet, even he defers to Flamel's wishes, choosing to keep the stone hidden and away from the public eye. It is not that Dumbledore doesn't understand the immense power and potential of the stone. Rather, he recognizes the truth that Flamel does, immortality in the hands of the wrong person could cause unimaginable destruction. But does this caution justify hoarding such a life-changing relic, especially when countless people could be saved with its help? The stone's existence is protected by layers of security, not just at Hogwarts, but through the efforts of powerful wizards who understand its importance. The notion of selling the Philosopher's Stone to the highest bidder, or using it for benevolent causes, is never entertained by any of the characters involved. Perhaps there is an unspoken understanding among them that the stone's power is not something to be wielded lightly, nor should it be exposed to the masses. But this stance still begs the question, was the decision to protect the stone at all costs truly the wisest course of action? If the Philosopher's Stone were to be sold, it would, of course, have immense consequences. The markets of magic would be thrown into turmoil, with the possibility of it being purchased by the wrong people, a dark wizard, a power-hungry ruler, or an organization seeking to control the world. The idea of mass distribution is even more troubling, as the very nature of immortality could lead to an unnatural stagnation of society. What happens when people no longer die? Would society become complacent? Would there be no need for innovation or progress, knowing that death was no longer an inevitable part of life? But then there is another side to the story. The stone, if used correctly, could allow for the healing of the sick and the easing of suffering for millions. The ethical dilemma here lies in the conflict between the potential to save lives and the inherent dangers of immortality. The choice to lock the stone away might stem from a desire to preserve the natural order of life and death. Perhaps Flamel and Dumbledore understood that immortality, in its truest sense, could be a curse. After all, life without an end might diminish the value of living itself. People would no longer have the drive to achieve greatness or to contribute to society knowing they could live forever. The danger, of course, is that immortality would likely attract those who sought to manipulate it for their own gain. In the wrong hands, the stone could empower those with less noble intentions, people who would use its magic to dominate and control others. In the wizarding world, we already see examples of characters who use dark magic for personal gain, such as Voldemort. The Philosopher's Stone, a source of immense power, could easily become a tool for evil rather than a force for good. Its existence serves as a constant reminder of the fine line between using power for the benefit of all and abusing it for personal glory. The decision not to sell the Philosopher's Stone may also be tied to Flamel's own personal philosophy. As an alchemist, he understands the fundamental principle that life must be balanced by death. By keeping the stone hidden, Flamel maintains a careful equilibrium in his own existence. He has lived for centuries, but at what cost? The truth about immortality is that it is not the miracle it seems to be. As time passes, one may lose the joy and wonder of life, becoming disenchanted with a world that refuses to change. In this sense, Flamel's decision to safeguard the stone is a reflection of his understanding of the inevitable decay of life and the dangers of resisting it. Even though the stone holds the potential to cure diseases and bring about untold benefits, there is something deeply human about the decision to hide it away. The idea that immortality should be preserved and protected from public knowledge speaks to the idea that some things are too precious, too dangerous to be shared. In the end, the Philosopher's Stone serves as a reminder that power, no matter how alluring, is never as simple as it seems. It carries with it not just the potential for good, but also the risk of great harm. The choice to keep it hidden is perhaps the wisest one, for in a world where magic already exists in abundance, the stone could easily tip the scales in ways that no one could predict. Rowling's decision to make the stone an object of secrecy and mystery only heightens its allure. As much as the stone symbolizes the power to conquer death, it also symbolizes the fragility of life itself, the fact that some things are better left untouched, for the consequences of their use could be far more dire than anyone could foresee.